What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Muse podcast. We are on day 24 of 32 teams and 32 days. We are finishing up the NFC South. We've already completed the NFC East and the entire AFC. We are finishing up today with the South with the Carolina Panthers. Guys, we just hit 1,600 subs. Please help support the show, man. I'm so happy to get that number. A little over a year we've been doing this. So, please click like, please click subscribe. I appreciate you. Last year on this very podcast, I predicted the Panthers in 2020 would go 5-11. They ended up going 5-11. Hey, ding, 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 ding. I win. So I predicted the team right. I thought there were some things that I really liked about this team. I thought Teddy Bridgewater would struggle a little bit. Didn't think he was the answer. And that kind of turned out to be correct. But I didn't necessarily predict Christian McCaffrey being banged up all season. So there's some things that I was right about, some things I was wrong about. But guys, if you're not familiar with my previews, what I like to do is I like to talk about additions and re-signings, draft picks, some strengths and weaknesses as far as the team goes. And we talk about question marks, and I do a prediction for the team, but we just kind of talk about where we see this team heading in 2021. And we start off with additions and re-signings. They get Sam Darnold, David Moore, Dan Arnold, Cam Irving, Taylor Morton, Pat Eifen, Daquan Jones, Morgan Fox, Denzel Perryman, Hassan Reddick, AJ Boye, and Rashawn Melvin. Sam Darnold's a big one, right? They trade for a guy who's underperformed in New York, a guy that they clearly think might be their future. We know that they're in the hunt for basically any quarterback who was available that was a big name. We know that they were actively looking to trade up in the draft. They think there's a chance that Sam Darnold could be their guy. There's also a chance that maybe, I don't know for sure, but I've heard rumors, maybe Sam Darnold could play this year if he plays at a high level. They still go out and get a quarterback in the future, and they try to flip Sam Darnold and, get more assets than what they gave up for him. I think if you get a guy who you like, you probably kind of stick with it, but we'll kind of see how that plays out. They tag Taylor Morton, great tackle. We'll kind of see how that works out as far as a long-term contract. They get a little bit of extra edge rush from Hassan Reddick. They get some help on defense with an AJ Boye, a Denzel Perryman. So, I'd like some of the guys they brought in, man. I think this is a pretty solid class of new faces. As far as departures, they lose Teddy Two Gloves. They lose Mike Davis, Curtis Samuel, Chris Reed, Russell Okun, Stephen Weatherly, K'Wan Short, Tyre Whitehead, Rasul Douglas, and Trey Boston. They lost some guys that, are big time. I think, Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater, I'm good with losing Teddy. Mike Davis was, good last year when he replaced Christian McCaffrey. In the draft, they get Chuba Hubbard, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So I'm not too worried about that. It does suck losing Curtis Samuel, but you do have two stud receivers that were, playing with him. So, it's a big loss, but I think they can recover from that. They lose some guys on defense that have been there for a while. Like K'Wan Short's been a dog there for a while. I don't know if he's as good as when he was at his peak. But they lose some talent. Overall, maybe it's a wash. Maybe I like their additions a little bit more than their departures. So I'm not overly worried about it. As far as draft picks in the first round, kind of a surprise with the first corner taken in the NFL draft. They get J.C. Horn, who's Joe Horn's son. So that's a pretty interesting one. I like J.C. Horn. I think I did like him a little bit more than a Patrick Surtain II. I thought when healthy, the kid from Virginia Tech that I'm blanking on his name, I did think he was a little bit better than J.C. Horn, but he had the red flag as far as medicals. They did get later in the draft in the second round. They get Terence Marshall Jr., which I thought was a huge pickup, man. You lose Curtis Samuel. This is a guy that we thought might, go, in the mid-20s, maybe to a Baltimore Ravens. But, he falls late in the second round. I think that was a huge pickup for the Carolina Panthers. They get Brady Christensen, Tommy Trimble, and Chuba Hubbard. So they get a little bit of tight end help, as far as blocking. Chuba Hubbard is a guy who once upon a time we thought he could be a first-round running back, right? We kind of saw him plateau a little bit of what he can do, but I absolutely love him being a backup running back. I think he's a guy who can take a carry, absolutely hit the seam and rip it for 80. He's that kind of guy. You get him I don't know, 7 to 10 touches a game. I think he's absolutely perfect in that. If he's a guy who's getting 20 touches a game, probably a little bit too much for him. But I like this draft, man. I thought it was a really solid draft for this Carolina Panthers team. Like I said, I like a JC Horn. I like a Terence Marshall. I like a Chuba Hubbard. Brady Christensen, very, very solid player. So I do like what they did there. As far as team strengths are concerned, they should have success getting after the quarterback with that front four, man. I'm a huge Brian Burns fan. I liked him coming out in the draft. I think he did exceptional in his rookie season. We talked about the addition of Hassan Reddick. So I think they're going to have a little bit of success getting after the quarterback. They're very solid on the offensive talent standpoint, with a CMC, with a Robbie Anderson, a DJ Moore and company. Those are just the established guys. We're not even, like I said, we're not even talking about the rookies and putting them in the aspect. Christian McCaffrey might be the best running back, all-purpose running back in the NFL. As far as just running the ball, it's probably Derrick Henry. But Robbie Anderson's a guy who, again, out of New York, underperformed a little bit, blew up last season. We know that he has a little bit of chemistry already with Sam Darnold. DJ Moore is a guy who I feel like people want to hate on him, but I love DJ Moore, man. I think he's a very, very good player. So I do like what they have in that aspect. As far as team weaknesses, I don't love their offensive line, and I think it could hold the offense back a little bit. We know Sam Darnold doesn't do fantastic when facing pressure. That's what kind of the advanced analytics say. Like I said, I don't love their offensive line. I don't think it's a dumpster fire. I don't think it's bad as like what Cincinnati was last year as far as an offensive line standpoint. But I think it could hold them back from, really exploring what they can all do offensively. So this is going to be one of those things where if maybe they get a guy or two to step up on the offensive line, it makes all the difference in the world. But, again, that's to kind of be foreseen. So we're not 100% sure about that. As far as biggest question marks, man, is can Sam Darnold be the guy? Can he be the guy who was drafted in the first round? Can he be the guy who is going to be the new franchise quarterback for the Carolina Panthers? We talked about them potentially starting him this year. If he does well, trading him. If he doesn't do well, drafting a quarterback and getting rid of him. But can he just be the guy that cements himself and be like, yeah, I'm the dude here? Part of me says yes, part of me says no. The I'm seeing ghost things, kind of always leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But he's been a guy who I think has been a better version of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has flashed a little bit, and you'll be like, oh wow, Daniel Jones could be good. And then he'll have like 19 bad passes, but 1 out of every 20, Daniel Jones looks good. Sam Darnold's been a guy who's been like, 1 out of 10. He'll make a good play. He'll make a good read. He'll, be smart inside the pocket. But he'll have other times where it's just, I don't know. He looks very average. He doesn't look terrible, but he looks like a guy, like Teddy Bridgewater. So it's going to be interesting, man. And I'm rooting for him. And I think, this is by far the most talent he's ever had around him on offense. And he lost Adam Gase. So that's a win in itself. So I do expect Sam Darnold to have his best season in the NFL thus far. As far as record prediction, I think this team does a little bit better than what people think. I have them going 8-9. I just talked about the New Orleans Saints, and I said that, I could easily see the Panthers finishing second in this division. I think Tampa's going to end up winning this division, but I think they have an upside to them. I do think they have veteran talent around some of these guys. So I said 8-9. I could see them going 9-8, but I could also see, a few injuries or the offensive line is kind of, bad or struggles, and them only winning like 6 games. But I'm going 8-9. I like this team. And as far as bold prediction, I talked about that front four, man. I really like Brian Burns, like I said, and I think Brian Burns will have 15 plus sacks this season. I know it's bold. I know it's only his second year, but he's a guy who I like as a dark horse. If you're a betting man, maybe placing a little bit of money for him to lead the league in sacks. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's worth a shot. I just like him, man. He's long. I think he's got some moves. I think he's got a motor to him. I just like what he's going to be doing. And having somebody like Hassan Reddick opposite of him always helps the edge rusher, man. We see so often when there's an elite edge rusher and they have nobody opposite of them, they struggle because that quarterback can just flow away from them. But when they're kind of forced to stay up in the pocket and you have a little bit of interior pressure and they can't just step up, I think Brian Burns eats a little bit this season. So I don't know, bold prediction. We'll see if it happens or not. But guys, let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm right about this team? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think 8-9 is probably too much? Do you think it's gonna be a 4-win season, or do you think, hey, we're making the playoffs, or we have a chance to win this division? I don't see it, but drop in the comments. Let me know. That's why I do this, man. Let's talk about it. All right, let's figure this out. I love to hear from you guys. So let me know if you think I'm an idiot. Drop in the comments. And please, guys, support the show. Like I said, we're over 1,600 subs. Continue to help support this show. I really do appreciate you. And guys, I'll see you next time. Hey guys, thank you so much for sticking around for the entire video. Thank you for supporting the show, clicking that like button, subscribing, comments, all that fun stuff. If you could just take one more second and check out Rep Sports, check out Raise Energy. They are partnered with this podcast. They are help supporting me. So if you go and check them out, it's the best tasting energy drink on the market. 100% guaranteed. They have supplements, protein, pre-workouts, recovery, all that stuff. If you guys check them out and you use promo code SportsMuse when checking out, you get 15% off of your order. And who doesn't like, some money off of their purchase? That's awesome. So definitely check them out. And like I said, it helps support me. It helps support them. So please check them out, guys. And thank you again so much for sticking around.